You've been slicing open avocados for decades, spreading them on toast, scooping them into bowls, and quietly telling yourself that you're doing your body an enormous favor. And for the most part, you probably are. But there's a side of this green fruit that rarely makes it into the cheerful articles you scroll through in the morning. There are 10 very specific mistakes surrounding avocados that can quietly transform this celebrated food into something that works against you rather than for you, and those risks sharpen considerably once you cross the threshold of 60. By the time you finish watching the next 15 minutes, I promise you will never hold an avocado the same way again. Let's begin with an assumption almost every health-conscious adult carries without realizing it. If a food is labeled natural and nutritious, more of it must automatically be better. Avocados are good for you, so why not pile them onto every plate, 2 a day, maybe 3? On the surface, that logic sounds reasonable, but once you examine how an aging body actually processes food, that logic starts to unravel in ways that genuinely matter. Before I walk you through the 10 mistakes, I want to be absolutely clear about something. My name is Dr. Catherine, and I have spent more than 20 years working with patients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. Avocados remain, in my professional opinion, one of the finest whole foods nature produces. They deliver monounsaturated fats, a generous profile of vitamins and minerals, and a compound called oleocanthal that carries real anti-inflammatory power. But those benefits depend heavily on context. And context, I promise you, becomes everything once the calendar pushes past 60. Here's something most physicians simply don't have time to explain during a rushed 15-minute visit. After 60, your digestive system, kidneys, liver, and cardiovascular network all begin operating on different settings. Enzyme output slows, kidney filtration quietly declines, the number of prescriptions in your medicine cabinet tends to climb, and your body's margin of error shrinks considerably. What was harmless at 40 can become genuinely risky at 67, and that is precisely the lens we need to apply to avocados. Mistake number 1 catches more people than you would ever guess. It is eating too much avocado while taking blood pressure or heart medication, and the consequences are not trivial. Avocados are extraordinarily potassium-rich. A single medium avocado delivers between 700 and nearly 1,000 milligrams of potassium, roughly twice what you'd find in a banana. Potassium is essential, of course. It steadies your heartbeat, supports your nerves, and helps regulate blood pressure. But potassium in the bloodstream must sit within a remarkably narrow corridor. Too little spells trouble, but too much is equally alarming. Doctors call that dangerous upper-range hyperkalemia, and it becomes far more common as we age, especially in adults with even mild kidney decline, which affects an estimated 37 million Americans, most of whom have no clue they have it. Your kidneys act like a carefully tuned water treatment plant, filtering excess potassium from circulation. When that plant slows down, potassium starts pooling. Layer a daily avocado habit on top of that, and you may be pushing your levels into territory your body can no longer manage safely. The medication piece makes this even more urgent. A broad family of blood pressure drugs, including ACE inhibitors like lisinopril and ramipril, along with ARBs like losartan and valsartan, already raise potassium as a side effect. Combine one of these pills with an enthusiastic avocado habit, and you are essentially stacking 2 potassium increases on top of each other. The early warning signs are quiet. Muscle weakness, fatigue, faint flutters in the chest, but the later stages can produce dangerous heart rhythm disturbances. If you are over 60 and on any cardiac or blood pressure medication, this conversation belongs in your next appointment. Mistake number 2 trips up the most disciplined, health-minded people I know because it involves timing and pairing rather than the avocado itself. Roughly 77% of an avocado's calories come from fat, mostly oleic acid. Fat dramatically slows how quickly your stomach empties, which sounds like a win for blood sugar control, and in isolation, it often is. But here's where the logic snaps. When fat is chronically paired with refined carbohydrates, the combination can quietly worsen insulin resistance in muscle cells over time. Picture pouring melted butter into a gas tank. The engine keeps running, but something essential has been fouled. For anyone already insulin-resistant or diabetic, and nearly half of American adults fall into one of those 2 categories, habitually stacking avocado toast on white bread next to a glass of orange juice every morning may not be delivering the metabolic gift you imagine. The avocado itself is innocent. The combination is where the damage hides. For adults over 60 managing blood sugar, a far wiser pairing is avocado with non-starchy vegetables and quality protein, and eating it first thing on a completely empty stomach, when cortisol is already elevated and insulin sensitivity is temporarily blunted, is worth rethinking. Mistake number 3 surprises almost everyone. It involves ripeness. Most shoppers assume an avocado is an avocado, whether it's rock hard or velvet soft. That assumption falls apart inside an older digestive tract. Underripe avocados carry higher concentrations of tannins and a compound called persin, which lives primarily in the skin, pit, and leaves, but shows up in small traces in unripe flesh. Persin is famously toxic to many pets, which is why veterinarians sound the alarm about feeding avocado to dogs and birds. In humans, the amount in an unripe fruit isn't going to hospitalize you, but it can absolutely stir up cramping, bloating, nausea, and loose stools. This matters more after 60 because the aging gut becomes a more delicate environment. The intestinal lining grows slightly more porous, microbial diversity dwindles, and pancreatic enzyme output, including the lipase that digests fat, begins to fall. What a 30-year-old stomach handles effortlessly, a 65-year-old gut may find genuinely irritating. On top of that, unripe avocados contain more fermentable polyols, a type of FODMAP that reliably provokes symptoms in anyone living with IBS or bacterial overgrowth. The simple fix is patience. A ripe hass yields gently to your palm, carries a deep charcoal skin, and reveals buttery green flesh with no hard seam down the middle. If the fruit resists, wait 48 more hours. Your gut will quietly thank you. Mistake number 4 is one of those ordinary kitchen habits nobody thinks twice about, and it carries a real food safety concern for older adults. The moment you slice an avocado open, a biological clock starts ticking. The flesh oxidizes, which is the brown color you see, and more importantly, it becomes a hospitable landscape for microbes to multiply, particularly if storage has been sloppy. Many households will cut an avocado, use half, wrap the remainder in plastic cling film, and leave it tucked in a refrigerator drawer for 3 or 4 days before finishing it. That habit sounds harmless, but FDA sampling has shown that the bumpy outer skin of commercial avocados harbors pathogens like Listeria monocytogenes and Salmonella more often than we used to assume. When your knife slices through that skin, it can drag those microbes directly into the creamy interior. Leave that cut half sitting in the refrigerator for a couple of days, and you've essentially created a nutrient-rich petri dish. A healthy 40-year-old immune system may shrug it off as mild nausea, but for someone over 60, especially anyone on immunosuppressive medication, living with chronic illness, or simply dealing with the natural immune slowdown of aging, Listeria is genuinely dangerous. It ranks among the leading causes of foodborne hospitalization in older adults. The smart practice is to leave the pit nestled in the unused half, brush the exposed surface lightly with lemon or lime juice, seal it tightly, and finish it within 24 hours. Do not assume that refrigeration alone buys you unlimited time. Mistake number 5 is the one my patients on blood thinners consistently overlook. Warfarin, known by the brand name Coumadin, is prescribed to millions of adults over 60 to prevent strokes and clots. It is also one of the fussiest medications in the entire pharmacy, exquisitely sensitive to shifts in your daily vitamin K intake. A single medium avocado delivers approximately 40 micrograms of vitamin K, a middling but meaningful amount. Vitamin K fuels the clotting cascade, which is essentially the opposite of what warfarin is designed to do. Picture trying to hold a radio station tuned to a specific frequency while someone keeps bumping the dial. When your vitamin K intake jumps around, 2 avocados one week, none the next, then a big guacamole at a weekend gathering, your INR swings unpredictably. Too low, and you risk a bleeding complication. Too high, and the stroke protection weakens. The solution is not avoidance. It is consistency. Pick a steady pattern, stick with it, and tell your pharmacist and physician exactly what that pattern looks like so your dose can be calibrated around it. The real danger lives in sporadic, erratic consumption without communication. Mistake number 6 concerns something older adults almost never suspect: a quietly developing avocado allergy. Before you dismiss this, please hear me out, because this is one of the most underdiagnosed reactions I see in my practice. Most people picture food allergies as immediate, dramatic events: hives, swelling, trouble breathing. That severe form of avocado allergy does exist, But there is a second and far more common variety that hides in plain sight, particularly in adults over 50. It is called oral allergy syndrome, sometimes labeled pollen food allergy syndrome. Here's the mechanism. Certain proteins in avocados look structurally similar to proteins in birch pollen and natural rubber latex. After decades of breathing in seasonal pollens, your immune system may finally accumulate enough sensitivity that it mistakes avocado proteins for the same foe. The result is a subtle reaction in the mouth and throat within minutes of eating raw avocado. A faint tingle on the lips, a prickly throat, a slightly swollen tongue. Most people blame heartburn, or a rough texture, or the lime juice in their guacamole, never suspecting their immune system is raising a quiet flag. This reaction often intensifies with each repeated exposure, and in individuals with a strong latex allergy, a phenomenon called latex fruit syndrome, it can escalate into something more serious. Cooking avocado usually denatures the problematic proteins, which is why a warm avocado soup rarely triggers symptoms. Raw avocado is where the risk lives. If any of that sounds familiar, mention it at your next checkup. Mistake number 7 sits at the crossroads of nutrition and pharmacology, and it is rarely discussed in the context of avocados. The culprit here is tyramine, a compound that accumulates naturally as foods ripen and ferment. Tyramine has a very serious interaction with a class of antidepressants known as MAO inhibitors, which includes medications like phenelzine, tranylcypromine, and selegiline, the last of which is also prescribed in Parkinson's disease. MAO inhibitors block the enzyme that breaks down certain neurotransmitters, but that same enzyme is also responsible for dismantling tyramine inside your gut and liver. When it's disabled, tyramine rushes into the bloodstream unchecked and can trigger a hypertensive crisis, a sudden, violent surge in blood pressure that can produce a pounding headache, chest pain, a racing heart, and in severe cases, a stroke or cardiac event. Very ripe or overripe avocados carry the highest tyramine loads and appear specifically on dietary caution lists for MAOI users. Now, MAOIs aren't prescribed as freely today as they once were, but they are still used in treatment-resistant depression and in Parkinson's care, both of which skew older. If you or a loved one takes one of these medications, the dietary rules are not gentle suggestions. They are medical necessities. More broadly, this mistake points to a principle I want every older adult to internalize. Always check how your foods interact with your prescriptions. Nutrition and pharmacology do not live in separate rooms. They share the same kitchen. Mistake number 8 connects to an active frontier of cardiovascular research, and it involves plant sterols. Avocados are among the richest natural sources of plant sterols, especially beta-sitosterol. For most people, these compounds earn their golden reputation by quietly blocking cholesterol absorption in the small intestine. But in a small and underdiagnosed subset of the population, the story flips. A rare genetic condition called cytosterolemia causes the body to absorb plant sterols at dramatically elevated rates rather than excluding them. Those absorbed sterols then accumulate in blood vessel walls, tendons, and skin, accelerating the hardening of the arteries in ways that can trigger heart attacks in surprisingly young adults. The trickiest part is that cytosterolemia often doesn't show up on a standard cholesterol panel. Routine LDL numbers may look reassuringly normal, handing both patient and physician a false sense of security. The giveaway is disproportionate cardiovascular risk. Think of it like a smoke alarm that's been quietly rewired to stay silent during a fire. If you are over 60, eat abundant plant-based foods including daily avocado, have a family history of early heart disease, and your cardiovascular picture seems worse than your routine labs predict, a specialized plasma plant sterol test is a conversation worth having with your cardiologist. For the vast majority, avocado sterols are beneficial. But assuming every natural food is universally safe for every individual is precisely the assumption that quietly harms people. Mistake number 9 is the most practical and the most common. It is chronic overconsumption disguised as healthy eating. Many well-meaning adults have absorbed the myth that because the fat in avocado is high quality, the calories somehow don't count. They absolutely do. A medium avocado delivers roughly 240 calories, and fat provides 9 calories per gram, more than twice what carbohydrates or protein provide. 2 whole avocados a day, which plenty of enthusiastic health devotees consume, quietly add nearly 500 calories before you've eaten anything else. After 60, several metabolic shifts happen at once. Your resting metabolic rate declines. Lean muscle mass gradually shrinks in a process called sarcopenia, which further lowers your baseline energy burn. Physical activity often tapers as joints stiffen and life slows. The net effect is that your actual caloric needs are meaningfully smaller than they used to be, but most dietary habits haven't updated to match. Chronic, modest overeating, just a few hundred extra calories every day, compounds over months into creeping weight gain, expanding visceral fat, rising triglycerides, and worsening insulin resistance. The painful irony is that someone eating mountains of avocado, olive oil, and nuts in the name of health can still end up with the exact metabolic problems they were trying to outrun. The remedy is not elimination. It is honesty about portion. 1/3 to 1/2 of a medium avocado per day is plenty for most adults over 60. Mistake number 10 is the one I saved for last, because it quietly enables every mistake that came before it. It is the habit of treating any single food as a substitute for medical care, for personalized guidance, and for genuine understanding of your own biology. This is the master error behind so much disappointing health content on the internet. Headlines promise that avocado cures inflammation, reverses aging, fortifies the heart. And while legitimate research supports many isolated claims, the leap from this food has benefits to therefore I should eat as much as possible is logic the science simply does not endorse. The aging human body is not a vending machine where inserting the correct superfood dispenses perfect health. It is an intricate living system shaped by genetics, decades of dietary memory, prescription combinations, hormonal shifts, kidney and liver performance, and 100 other variables that no online creator can see. The 9 specific mistakes we walked through are real, documented, and science-backed, and they disproportionately affect older adults precisely because avocado is a biologically potent food, not a harmless decoration. But the goal of this conversation is never fear. Fear of food is itself a health problem that breeds anxiety, restriction, and a complicated relationship with eating that damages quality of life. The real goal is informed confidence, the quiet ability to make thoughtful choices about what you eat, why, how much, and how it interacts with the one body that is uniquely yours. So let me hand you a practical framework you can actually use starting tomorrow morning. First, know your kidney function. Ask your physician for a basic metabolic panel that includes your glomerular filtration rate. Millions of adults have reduced kidney function without suspecting it. Second, know your medications at the level of what they do chemically, not just what they are named. If you take an ACE inhibitor, an ARB, a potassium-sparing diuretic, warfarin, or an MAOI, those are the specific categories where avocado creates meaningful interactions. Your pharmacist is a remarkably underused resource for this kind of question and often far more accessible than your physician. Third, listen to your body. Keep a simple food and symptom journal for a few weeks. The patterns that emerge can be remarkably informative, and they hand your doctor something concrete to work with. Fourth, combine strategically. Avocado genuinely amplifies the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients like lutein, lycopene, and beta-carotene from vegetables, so pairing it with a colorful salad unlocks far more nutritional value than either food delivers alone. Fifth, respect portion size as your metabolism shifts. A 68-year-old simply has different caloric needs than a 40-year-old, and adapting to that reality is one of the most powerful things you can do for long-term health. One of my longtime patients, a retired librarian named Margaret, walked into my office convinced she was doing everything right. Avocado toast every morning, half an avocado in her lunch salad, guacamole most evenings. She felt proud, and she should have. But her fasting glucose had crept up, her weight wouldn't budge, and she was on a medication that was quietly interacting with her daily intake. We didn't ban avocados. We recalibrated. Once a day, half an avocado, combined with vegetables and a protein source, with her medication timing reviewed. 90 days later, her numbers had moved in the right direction, and she was still enjoying the food she loved. That is the entire point. Knowledge doesn't strip joy from the plate, it protects it. If anything you learned today changed the way you see the avocado on your kitchen counter, please tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach other adults over 60 who deserve real information rather than oversimplified headlines. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because I publish new evidence-based videos every single week covering the nuanced health topics your doctor rarely has time to walk you through. Share this video with one person in your life who is carefully trying to eat well but might be making one of these 10 quiet mistakes. Drop a comment below and tell me which mistake surprised you the most. I read every comment personally, and your answers shape the videos I create next. In my next video, I will walk you through 3 foods most adults over 60 are eating every morning that are quietly fueling inflammation, and I will show you exactly what to swap them with. You will not want to miss it. My name is Dr. Catherine, and I will see you again very soon. Take care of that remarkable body of yours. Stay curious and stay well.